Good morning, it's Ginny and Tim at DS Tech in Escanaba, Michigan. And we're going to talk about AI power tools and programming. The question is, if you're a programmer, will your job be replaced or displaced by AI, right?
Yeah.
So, and we're going to guide you right through all of the pros and cons and all the stuff. So make sure you drop your questions and comments below this video. And if you need any help implementing AI tools to help your security or whatever, drop that too. We'll get in touch.
Yeah.
So what do we got?
So I wanted to kind of just dispel some of the FUD that you see in the news articles. Everyone's like, every programming job's going to be replaced with AI. Programmers are not going to be needed anymore. All this, that, and the other thing. And it stems from Microsoft recently had like a talk where they're talking about up to 30% of their code base is now being driven through AI. I think Mark Zuckerberg recently had a talk where they're saying that Meta and Facebook, like almost up to 50% of their code could be AI driven within a year or so. And then you see the articles about how Microsoft is laying off programmers. And so people are putting two and two together, just assuming that it's the end of the world for all programming jobs. And realistically, for some, yes, there may be some low-hanging fruit jobs that are going to be replaced. But I'll go through some of the different nuances.
Stick with us to find out how not to be that person,
yeah, exactly,
right?
Exactly. So starting at this, big tech. Yeah, Microsoft, 30% of its code is AI generated. Mark Zuckerberg up to 50. The trend is causing anxiety about future programmers in the career, especially if you're a younger entry-level developer. You just got your programming degree, right? So software development is not dead, but it's changing. So the idea that is people are using these tools like ChatGPT and Claude. They're not going to replace developers, but realistically enhance them. It's almost like a tool that you're going to be using to do a job. An analogy we use of like real world tools here that someone had used was that, back in the day, every single person can pick up a hammer and a nail and swing a hammer and put it into wood and see. And whether you're a 5-year-old or if you're a professional who's done 5,000 hours, you're going to swing that hammer completely different. And it's simply a tool to allow you to do your job. And then what happens is we went from hammer and nails. Now we actually have power tools. So you have like,
I actually had a job back in the day. And I didn't know how to swing a hammer.
Okay.
So I ended up with all kinds of like calluses.
Or you even hit your finger.
Yes, yeah. I would have to wrap my hands to do the job because I was getting so much. My hands were bleeding because I was doing it wrong.
Yep.
It was so interesting.
So we go from, hammer and nails to you have like a framing nail or things like that. So the idea with tools is that even building, say, a little structure like a shed back in the day, you might have needed 2 or 3 guys to kind of hold the wood together. Well, one guy hammered it together, things like that. Well, now one person, essentially with some power tools, can build an entire shed by themselves if they have the knowledge and the skill to be able to do that. So AI is simply a power tool. It's not the hammer, it's the upgraded version. So if you have the skill and the ability of using that tool to augment your own skills, you'll actually do much better at building, your shed than if you didn't have that
if you do
power
it right.
tool. So the problem with that is
yeah.
Same thing, you have people that maybe don't know that much about programming that are getting into it and they're just using AI to do all the vast majority of their coding without actually understanding the concepts behind it. And that's where we're going to run into problems where people are using power tools without the skills, and you can lead to more injuries or even more. You can build your shed way wrong, even worse, quicker with power tools than with a hammer and nails. So it's similar to that. It's a tool that does require you to understand what's happening behind the scenes in order to get the most out of it.
I can see that in marketing too, because sometimes I'll have AI write stuff, and then I ask you, Tim, will you look at this?
Please check this over before I put it out?
Yes, he'll look at it and he'll be like, nope, this is wrong. Let's rewrite it.
Because AI is only good as the information you're giving it, so it's doing its best at predicting, and a lot of times it will skim, say, 1,000-word article. It only reads like every other word and assumes the in-between, so that can lead to what they call hallucinations, where it thinks it's totally right, but it's a completely made-up fact or something that's wrong.
You kind of got to know.
You still got to know and check it. So where this goes is, like, say you're a really great developer and you in your head know how to do all the really hardcore coding, while your AI can do that rough draft for you, where I want a function to do X, and you could plug it in and the AI could give you some sort of rough code. You could look at that, and so a lot of the very beginning code will be generated for you. It'll require a real person to do it. So where this leads to is Where I see human programmers are going to be needed is to honestly check the AI's code. So it talks about technical debt will grow in AI-driven code bases. So this talks about if AI is generating significant amounts of code, bugs, bloat, and also security vulnerabilities could also grow, because the end goal of the AI is just to create something that's working. It may not create something that's working with security in mind as the number one thing. It may think the end goal is just to get it working properly. Yep. And so it might take a shortcut in security to get there. So you're going to have bigger, they call it technical debt. And where human developers are going to have to go through, and security auditors to look through the code base to make sure there's not anything that can be used maliciously or it created a hole in the software. And so that's really where really good programmers are going to be still required to kind of do that vetting and things like that. A real world example of AI kind of coding something not to be more efficient is the latest Windows 11 start menu is actually coded in React Native, which is a coding language which basically creates the CPU to spike a little bit each time you click on the start menu. It's not a lot. It could be even like 0.1%, but it's just coded inefficiently. And that was something that someone called out easily, is like, this probably was just done by AI, because no real programmer like that should be programming it this way.
So it's fixed?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's fixed. I think it's probably going to be leaving in there. You know what I mean?
Oh.
But ideally, people will have to go through that kind of thing and ideally create a better way of programming that's more efficient, less resource intensive, things like that. Another one is where a lot of programmers, they go to a website, it's called Stack Overflow. It's where you can get different snippets of code to use, examples that people have used. And when you're starting out at programming, that's great, because you look at other people's code, you figure out how it's used, and you can use that. But really where the nuance comes in is if you're able to critically think and come up with a new way where you see 3 people doing code, it's doing a certain function, but you for some reason are like, what if we just try it this way? I think this can work. And that's really where a human is going to excel over AI, because usually AI is not told to create new ideas or to think critically or to come up with unconventional thinking or some sort of new way to do it. It's really good at doing predictive based on existing methods. So to come up with a new artistic piece or something that hasn't been done, but that only within code, that's unique. That could be a nuanced thing. That's where humans are going to really stand out.
So AI doesn't have the creativity piece that our brain
exactly
has, right?
Yes. And so my personal take, just with AI in general, is that I think over the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to kind of get sick of what I call AI slop, where you're just going to get a whole bunch of videos, code, movies, media, all kinds of stuff that's being created, music, all kinds of stuff using AI tools, but it's only going to be kind of mediocre at best. To maybe now it looks amazing compared to what it was, but it's still going to be kind of just mid-grade, mediocre. And what's going to excel above that is there's going to be a real demand for the human element of it, where you have like almost a picture where you feel something looking at the picture versus just an AI image that's created without an emotion behind that. Where usually with people, when you're creating stuff, you sort of have, emotion or something tied to that, whether it be code, you have passion, things like that is being put into that. And that's, I think, where AI is still going to lack that, and humans are still going to excel.
Almost like humans and AI, if we work together, can create something even
because
way better.
Because it allows you to think more creativity. You're not spending all your brain power doing the mundane code that you know how it works. It's just 1 + 2 = 3, and you're doing all this generic code. You can take your time and brain power on the nuanced thinking and the critical thinking part on how you can make it more efficiently, and let the AI do the brunt work or the busy work of all the annoying part of the code that you don't want to deal with. So that's really where it'll happen. So so kind of the end of this article talks about how lazy programmers will be displaced. So that's kind of where it is where, people who just build generic to-do apps, port existing apps, they're not really creating anything nuanced, they're just following basic tutorials. I mean, those kind of things are probably going to be replaced by AI, where they should, either invest in their skills and creativity, taking it to that next level, or potentially,
or maybe learn to use a hammer.
Or maybe just learn to use a hammer if that's not your thing. And so that's where I see, some people may go into their job, they just do the bare minimum to get by, to get the paycheck, and that's it. And a lot of people, that's perfectly fine. For your career, for your perfect job, that's perfect. But unfortunately, with AI and programming, just the mundane, the repetitive, the very boring, that is going to be replaced. And it's the ones that are really trying to take it to the next level to create something nuanced. That's where AI is never going to replace that, and where humans will always need to be there as kind of guardrails and to check it and to make sure things are doing well. And with all of this, the biggest thing to take out of it is that with AI, it's becoming more prevalent. So having a good security tools installed on your computers, installed on your business, having a partner like DS Tech to be able to help you navigate these waters and keep your company going throughout all this, and keep the data safe, your customers safe, all that stuff will be, it'll be increasing as well with all this. But at the same time, the AI will be used on the defense and all of the tooling that we use to help protect us against any of those attackers. So.
Yeah. So if you need help, I mean, if you're trying to implement AI in your business and you don't want those security holes that it can create, then definitely reach out.
You don't want to just turn it on.
No. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I did read another article on what's it called? PID, personal information documents or something like that.
Identifiable information.
Exactly.
PII. Yep.
PII, not PID. PII. Yep. So anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
Yep. we can talk about that in probably the next AI article that I'll do. I'll go into some of the data. They call it data governance is the biggest thing, where you want to make sure the AI is only accessing certain information that it needs to know, and it's only giving that to people that need to know the information. So
you got to nail that down. Anyway, if you need help with any of that, drop help. We'll get in touch or visit our website at dstech.net. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter. I write one every week with Tim's help and AI. Yep. So make it a great day, and we'll see you next time.